Guys, this week I'm going to talk about labels. So, people will talk about labels and how they're shortcuts to defining things and all these things, and you can feel stressed when people apply labels. And I think that, or staying to your label, and I think that the most stress that people ever encounter when it comes to labels are the ones that other people give them. So, what are some wonderful labels that people have given me? Well, they're fun. Those of you guys who've been watching for a while, you probably know that I am none of those things. So how did I end up with that confusing amalgam of stuff that doesn't really work? What time is it? Okay, so the man thing. When I was a kid, I had a voice in my head telling me that I should have been born a man. Unfortunately, it wasn't my own voice. It was my dad's. He had this big thing about how he wanted more than one son because we have my older brother. And then he'd tell the story over and over to me again, how the night before we were born or something, he prayed to God that he'd have a daughter and a son because, twins. And then we were born and we were two girls and he was horribly disappointed. Yeah, I grew up with him telling me that God didn't give me what I wanted, so I had issues with, feeling like I should have been the boy, because I was pretty much told that I should have been born a boy. And that didn't work out very well because, well, when you're a kid and you kind of identify as a boy because someone told you should have been one, but you still look pretty much like a girl and dress like a girl and all that stuff, people don't like you. At least kids don't like you very much. So yeah, that was not a good experience. To this day, they still get kind of pissed off about, feeling not one thing or the other. I mean, nowadays I accept that I'm pangendered, not really cisgendered or transgender, but I have issues with interacting with people because people expect me to either be a guy or a girl, and I'm like, I'm neither, not really either of them. So, lots of stress. Now, how did I become associated with being gay when I'm not gay? Yeah, that has a direct correlation to me thinking that I should have been born a boy. In elementary school, I hung out with guys about as much as I hang out with girls because I thought I was a guy. Well, I kind of wanted to be a guy. Not because I felt like I was one, but, And that got a lot of people thinking because, they expect that there's a stereotype that people who aren't heteronormative will act in a specific behavior, will pattern, and I fell into that, so a lot of people assumed that I was gay. And, yeah, that wasn't fun. Children can be the most evil, spiteful brats ever. And now for the Asian one. Well, that one's fun. In high school, this didn't start until high school, I had a lot of my friends were Asian, right? And I never really thought of myself as white per se, not because of ethnical anything, but because white was just so bland. It's like when you fill out information forms on what your race is on standardized testing, there's African American, Indo-European, Asian, all these things, and then white at the bottom. It's like, that is so lame. So lame. And then I finally learned that there was Caucasian, which I was happy about, but also kind of I'm sad because I don't think technically my ancestors came from the Caucasus, so I don't think it's actually quite accurate anyway. So my friends, most of them were Asian, and I don't know how it happened, but when we were talking one day about stuff, and the topic of race and ethnicity came up, and when we were talking about our own, they were like, "You're not white, you're Asian," which shocked me a lot. Co-opting my race, whatever. It was just really weird. It's like I'd never thought of ethnicity, and race as being separate or whatever. It's really weird. So then eventually I started realizing, that what makes someone Asian is not just because they're from Laos, Korea, Japan, Malaysia, all those things. I guess they were just associating me with the characteristics of being Asian. I don't know. It's kind of complicated. And then when I transferred high schools, the same thing happened. My Asian friend said, "You're not white, you're Asian," which was just, I don't know, apparently I don't act very white, whatever that means. And in college, it happened again. So, it's apparently unanimous that I am not actually white, I'm Asian somehow. Despite not having the ethnic background, I apparently have the cultural background, which is weird. But I don't mind so much, I guess. So how did I get stuck with the Jewish label? Pure human ignorance. So I used to have a pentacle that I wore around my neck because I just liked having something for my religion there. It was just nice. And I started having people coming up to me and asking if I was Jewish. The Star of David has 6 points, not 5. Thank you! As for things that I personally identify as, my own labels, my self-ascribed labels, I generally find that they don't stress me because I know that they mean so much more than just one word. For example, the big A, otherwise known as artist. All bets are off when I say that one out loud. There are so many things about it that people have stereotypes about that I've just given up on caring. Oh, she's weird because she's an artist. That's it. We're not going to bother thinking that she's normal. I also identify as weird, which suits me just fine. There was one time where I was able to convince someone that my brain has a crack gland that produces crack, so I don't actually have to take any mind-affecting drugs to become creative. And instead of going, "That's weird," or "What the hell are you trying to do?" they just nodded their head and said, "I believe you, because I am that weird, and it's entirely possible." And I'm a biromantic asexual. Label brouhaha! I identify as a Harry Potter nerd, a Star Trek nerd, a whole bunch of other nerds, a Dungeons and Dragons nerd, a dice nerd, a video game nerd, and there are just so many things that, labels are things that people use as shortcuts to describe themselves. But if you remember that they're shortcuts, then you realize that they're not so bad. But so many people don't realize that one word in the dictionary can mean so much more than what's written down there. Like, definition. They just look it up and be like, that can't be all. It's not. To define something means so much more than just giving a specific, identifiable, logical reasoning for it. So when people talk about labels and how they feel constricting, it's not really the label itself. It's what people expect out of the label and what you expect out of that word. So, I think I had a point there, but I'm not sure where it went.